Hi, you're with Chandeep at Goodly once again, and in this video I'm going to show you a new dashboard that I have created in Power BI for helping you to track, manage and analyze the most important metrics of the learning and development function in your company. Now, if you do a lot of learning and development training activities in your company, stick around, you will find this very interesting. Now, I already had one learning and development dashboard uploaded on my blog, which I made it last year. I'm just going to close that down and make this one live because the earlier one had a few glitches in terms of configuration and in terms of a few calculations. I thought, let me just kind of revamp the entire stuff and make out a new one. Now, this one is a complete plug and play dashboard. The visualization's a lot better, the functionality, the calculations, and the features are a lot better than the previous one. Now, what I've done is I've converted all of that stuff into a single template, and you can purchase this template, put in your own data into this, and you can get started instantly with tracking the most important learning and development metrics for your own company. All right, in this video, actually, I'm going to be discussing 4 things with you. The first is how the dashboard works. What are the different parts of it? How do you make it work? What are the different features and things like that? The second thing I'm going to show you is the backend data, the data that I have used to construct the dashboard, and what is the data that you need to collect to be able to work with the dashboard. The third thing is making a decision. So how would you actually get to know that this dashboard is the right fit for you? And the final thing is that how do you implement this? How do you configure the dashboard after you purchase it? All right, let's start how it works. So the first part, the dashboard is actually divided into 4 screens: the overview, the planner, the feedback, and the cost. These are the 4 major screens that you will see when you open the dashboard. And right now we are in the presentation. Why don't we just skip over this and just go to Power BI to take a look at the dashboard. All right, when you get the Power BI file, you're going to see the screen where you have 4 sections: overview, planner, feedback, and the cost, like I discussed earlier. And let's just go take a look at what have I done in overview section. Now, the objective of the overview screen is to give you a snapshot of the broad analytics of the company. And this also allows you to drill down in case you want to go one level deeper, take a look at a little more minute level of analytics. You can even do that. So here I've presented all the main analytics, and let's just take a look at this screen. So on the top, you can see that we have like a selection. This is called a slicer for the year and for the month. Depending upon the dates in your training data, this timeline will automatically auto adjust. And in case you have data even before 2016, you can make adjustments, and this slicer is going to show 2015 as well. So we have years and we have the months, and you can pick up any year in the month and you can take a look at the analysis of that particular month. Currently 2017 July is selected. These are all the broad numbers that I have presented here. So the first metric is total invited. How many people are you inviting to the training? Then we have total trained. You may invite people, some people may get absent. So there is a difference between total invited and total trained. And the trained to invited ratio. How many active employees are there in the current month in the company? So 986. And of those employees, how many unique people have you trained? So we did train 532 people, of which unique were 415. What's the coverage? Simply dividing the unique divided by the total active. And the vitality numbers, if you're taking a look at the dashboard, and you might want to take a look at the vitality numbers that you've done until the current month, which is invited vitality, trained vitality, unique trained vitality, and also 2 other important metrics, which is how many man days have you done and how many total programs have you done until now. And we have slicers on the top, filters on the top. So we have filters for business vertical, we have filters for the location, we have filters for the department. You also have the provision to add or edit the current filters. If you don't like them, you can add them, delete them, or make your new filters. So there is a provision for that as well. So why don't we take a look at what is here. So let's just say that in the outsourcing business, we invited 196 people, and the trained were 152 people. That's a 78% unique trained percentage. Now what happens is when you click on any particular business, the entire dashboard gets filtered. So it's like a cross filter that is there in Power BI. So you'll be able to click here, and now this entire dashboard belongs to the outsourcing business for the month of July in 2017. So 196 people trained, as you're seeing it here, and all the metrics are belonging to the outsourcing business. Even the training programs, the band, people trained, the unique, everything belongs to this, even the chart as well. Now this is a simple table here which shows you that what is the level or the band, the hierarchy of the grade of the people, the programs that you have done for the band, the people that you have trained in that particular program, how many unique people came, the number of programs that you have done. So you can see GST certification is another program that we have done, and we've done this program 3 times in the month of July. On the right here, we have a map, and since this entire data belongs to India, so all the location that you're seeing is on the map of India. In case you provide this with locations which are in your country, this will automatically adjust to your country. But just in case the location is unidentifiable by Bing engine, which is the engine for Microsoft, the locations will not be populated in a map, and you may have to choose another visual, maybe a bar chart or any other chart to plot the locations. But nevertheless, you will have locations in any form of a chart or a table. So let's just take a look at how do locations work. So I'm going to click back on outsourcing once again, and the dashboard gets unfiltered. So let's just take a look at any particular location. So let's just pick up Mumbai. So if I click on Mumbai, it again cross filters the entire dashboard, and now this dashboard becomes a Mumbai only dashboard for 2017 for the month of July. And if I hover my mouse on top of any particular location, I also get to see the insights of that particular location, that how many people have trained, total invited, unique trained, and the percentages. So these additional metrics are also changeable. All right, so that's all about it. I guess you have a pretty good idea of what the overview screen does. It just gives you a general, broad, one snapshot understanding of how the broad metrics of the L&D function are doing, and you can see it across time, you can see it across locations, verticals, departments, or anything for that matter. All right, let's now move on to the second screen, which is the planner. So in the planner sheet, the basic structure of the visual remains the same. That means we have the years on the top, the months, and the basic filters on the top, which can be added or deleted. But a few metrics change. The visual style underneath change because the objective of this sheet is slightly different. This will help you do the planning of your training more intensively, and will help you track some more important and granular metrics like people who are absent in the training, people who have partial attendance in the training. When are you actually doing the training? You can take a look at on the calendar the dates of the training, who are the people whom you're sending the invites to, and of those people, are they absent, are they present, which business functions are you covering. And definitely one of the most interesting things are the few metrics that I have done. So why don't we take a look at how the sheet works. All right, one of the most interesting things that I definitely want to cover in this sheet is that you would find that we have like a calendar here that shows you the calendar representation of the current month selected. The current month is 2017 August, and that's what we're taking a look at here. Now the numbers that you see here represent the number of trainings that we are doing on that particular day, and you will see that the 3 is slightly more darkened in color than as compared to 2 or 1. So the more number of trainings that we do on a particular day, that gets a darker shade, and the less number of trainings that we do on a particular day, that gets the whiter shade. Now let's say, for example, you want to take a look at, hey, which 3 training programs are we doing? Then this is clickable. So if I click on 3, I'll exactly get to know that which training programs are we doing on that particular day. So on Friday, which is the 18th of August, we are doing 3 programs. One is soft skills, the other one is speed training, and the other one is change quest. And we have totally nominated 36 people here. That is also something that you can take a look at when you hover the mouse. This is the tooltip, and these are the 36 people that have been invited from these all businesses. And you can also take a look at who are these 36 people. So you can take a look at the count of the people who have been invited in the program. And just in case if they're absent for the program, the absent is going to be marked here. Now there are other ways in which you can make use of the calendar function as well. What you can do is you can actually click on the filter here, which is business vertical. I can see that, hey, I'd like to take a look at in the month of August, what all trainings have you done for, let's say, the e-business. So if I click on e-business, the calendar will only show the training programs done for e-business, and you can see that right here. And if you further click down on the calendar, you will actually take a look at the training program. All right, there is an interesting thing here that you can also track people who have been absent into the training. And you can see that this guy, Alan, was invited for 3 training programs in the month of August, and he's been absent for 1 training program. So why don't we click on his name to find out that what's going on with him. So if I click on Alan, you can see that he's been invited for 3 programs, goal setting, sales orientation program, and the SOP training, and he's been absent for this program. All right, this is how the entire screen works. I would like to draw your attention to one another metrics, which is very, very interesting, is that you also get to know that if you've done so many trainings in a particular month, you get to know that who are the 3 most trained departments. So if you take a look at the month of August, we have how many? 380 unique people trained in that particular month. Who got the training the most in terms of which departments? You get to know that here. So dealer sales got 150 people trained, though that's the number one department by the number of unique people trained. Contractual was 47, planning and strategy was 26 people. So three most trained departments, you can see it here. And when you change the month, let's say we move on to September, everything in the dashboard changes to September. All right, that was the planning sheet, which helps you plan the trainings better on the calendar, find out who are absent, present, and that kind of stuff. Let's just move on to another important aspect of the L&D function, which is the feedback of the training. All right, so we are on the feedback sheet or the feedback screen. Like always, we have the same years and the months on the top, and we have a couple of metrics here. So let's just take a look at some of the important metrics that you can see on this dashboard. So one is for sure is the average training score. So in this entire month of September, what has been the average training score for all the programs that we have done? And in case you'd like to filter it by a particular training program, you can go to the training program filter and maybe just filter for Microsoft Excel. And for all the Microsoft Excel trainings that have happened in the current month, what has been the average score? How many people have you trained? So that's the kind of filters that work. Apart from that, here is a table. In the table, we have the name of the training, that all the trainings that happened in September, which business function did you do the training for, how many departments did you call from that business function, what has been the average rating for that department, for that business vertical, how much money are you spending, because it's always good to see that what is the rating of the training program versus how much money am I spending on the training. Interesting part is that this is 0.03. This is actually 0.03 lakhs. That's how we see the numbers in India, but in case you'd like to convert that into millions, you can click on the million. But instead, you'd like to take a look at the full number, you can just unclick on lakhs or whatever is selected here, and you will actually get to see the full cost of the training program. Or in case you want it in thousands, you can actually click on thousands and the cost actually becomes in thousands. And the employee cost is not converted into thousands, millions or lakhs, so you exactly get to see the cost per employee without any denomination. Apart from that, we have two interesting charts here: average training score by level. These are the hierarchy of the people who sat in the training, the seniority of the people, and we have the average training score by the trainer. Now obviously, when you hover the mouse on top of any of these two charts, you get to see some interesting metrics like what's the training score of the trainer, how much money have you given to the trainer, what's the cost per employee of that particular trainer, how many people have covered by the trainer. Something really interesting is going on when you click on the chart. So let's just take a look at Sweetie, who's the trainer. If I click on Sweetie, what is going to happen is that I get to know that Sweetie is really good with the lower band of people. So the lower band of people have their average rating as 3.48. You can see that the average training score is 3.48. But for Sweetie, they have rated her as 3.64. That means she's really good with these kind of people, the lower grade of people. So you would want to put her more on the lower grade of people rather than on the higher grade of people. You would see the otherwise happening for Martin. That means he is pretty good with B2 people rather than for B3 or B4. When you click on a particular trainer, you also get to see the best feedback training program. That means this trainer has delivered what training programs which have received the best feedback and how many people did you cover and when did they happen in the month, and also the worst training programs. Similarly, these two metrics are going to get filtered by any dimension that you click on the dashboard. If I click back on Martin once again, the entire dashboard is for the month. And if you now take a look at the worst and the best feedback programs, I get to see the best feedback programs for the entire month and the worst feedbacks for the entire month. All right, that's all about the feedback, nothing much complicated, just a few interesting metrics around here. Now let's just take a look at the cost, which is one of the most important parts of the L&D function, that how much money are you spending on training and development. All right, here is the cost screen. Just like before, everything remains the same. The filters, the year month filters, the selection of the denomination for showing the cost. Couple of slicers here: vertical, program, location, and the department, and some very interesting key metrics on the top that I have displayed. So we get to see the number of people that we have trained, the unique people that we have trained. We've been looking at that. We also get to see the total cost, which is in millions as of now. We also get to see that the total cost of YTD, how much have we spent until the current month selected, and what has been the cost per employee. Now you would find that there is a chart here at the bottom here which shows you the cost trend of the entire year. Although we see that July has been selected, but this this entire chart still shows you all the months. So what is happening is that this chart is not linked to the month. So when I click on June or August, nothing is going to happen to the chart. The chart is going to remain the same. But when you click on 2018, this chart is going to show you the entire trend for 2018. No matter whatever month you have selected, you would be able to see the cost for the entire year. Let's just go back to July and let's just take a look at what's happening there. And 2017, when you hover the mouse on top of the chart here, what you see are a couple of interesting metrics: is the total cost, what has been the YTD cost, how much cost per employee is there, how many people have you trained, how many people did you invite, things like that. Same is the case with total cost by band. When you hover the mouse, you see the money that you spend on that grade or the hierarchy of people, and a couple of other interesting metrics. Same is the case with total cost by department. You also get to see the split of the training programs. That means how much money are you spending on behavioral programs versus technical programs. There's a table down here which picks up the month, the business, the name of the program, how much money have you spent on that program, what has been the cost per employee, how many people did you invite, were there any absent, and how many eventually did you train. This is the most interesting part that I believe is the 5 most expensive training programs that you've done in the particular period selected. So right now we have July selected, 2017. We spent 4.51 million on the trainings for that particular month. And from that, the 5 most expensive program costed us 1.9 million. And which were these programs? So last impression was done thrice. This has been the training program. How much money did we spend on that program? How many people did we train on that program? So on and so forth. So you can see that 1.9 million was spent. The per employee cost for all these programs put together, the 5 most expensive programs, was 19,000, and we trained 98 people and we invited 98 people, so that's a good thing. Nobody was absent. Now obviously all of this is going to get filtered when you select anything. So let's say let's say pick up B1 band, which is the highest grade of people. When I select that, everything gets filtered. Even the line chart gets filtered. The 5 most expensive programs gets filtered. So on B1 we spent 2.85 lakhs. The 5 most expensive programs costed us 1.3 million. I'm sorry, I keep saying lakhs, this is in millions. And you can do a vice versa filter also. You can click on behavioral programs and you'll get to see the data for behavioral. So you can pick up any filters from the page and the entire dashboard will get filtered as per that. So you can see that in behavioral programs in the month of July, we had 1 person absent here. So we invited 8, but 1 person was absent and we eventually trained 7 people. All right, that's all about the dashboard, which has 4 screens: the overview, the planner, the feedback, and the cost. And you can track all of your metrics in a single dashboard for learning and development. Now let's move on to the second part of the video, where I'm going to show you that how the backend data looks like. That means what all are the columns, what is there in the Excel files, and whether or not can you have the data in the same format so that you can implement the dashboard for your own company. Before I actually show you the data behind the dashboard, why don't we take a look at the architecture of the dashboard, in the sense that how is the dashboard constructed and what's going on behind the dashboard. It's going to give you a good skyline view of how things are working at the back end. Now, in terms of data, we have an Excel file, just one Excel file, which contains 2 sheets. The first sheet is training data and the second sheet is the cost data. The training data would have simple information like which employees did you train, what was the training start date, end date, name of the program, feedback, that kind of stuff. And the cost data would contain all the cost parameters, that how much money was spent on the training, things like that. This is just one Excel file with 2 sheets, training data and cost data. Apart from this Excel file, I have a set of another Excel files which are for employee masters. And there's just not one employee master, there are multiple employee masters. Now let's say that you're trying to create a dashboard for 12 months. So we would need one employee master each for every single month. Now I'm going to explain you the reason that why are we having multiple employee masters and why can't we work with just one employee master in just a moment when we actually take a look at the data. But this is going to be extremely easy for you to maintain. If you're able to do one of the employee masters, you'll be able to do multiple employee masters. All of this data that you maintain, which is the one Excel file with 2 sheets of training data and cost data and multiple employee masters for the number of months that you want to do the analysis for, all of this data is fed inside a Power BI template. Power BI template simply means a Power BI file, which is what you will purchase. The data goes inside that. Once the data goes inside the template, there is some cleaning, there's some massaging, there's some formulas, analytics, and the visuals are automatically created, which is what we have taken a look at. Now, in this entire gamut of work, this is your part. That means you have to have the data ready in the proper structure that I give you. You have to maintain the data going forward. And if you're able to do this, all of this work is automated. That means right from the time that you maintain the data, as soon as you put the data inside Power BI template, all the cleaning, all the massaging, all the formulas, analytics, and visuals will get self-populated, updated automatically once the data goes inside. Now that you have the understanding of the architecture, why don't we go and take a look at the exact Excel files which hold the data. All right, here we are in the Excel file. The name of the Excel file is data. And we just have two sheets here. As I said, we have a training sheet, training dump sheet, and we have the cost sheet, which is where we are collecting data. Why don't I explain the training dump sheet first and then move on to the cost sheet. So we have a couple of simple columns here. So the first column is the name of the program. The second column is the program type, the employee code, start date and end date of the training, training location, where did you do the training, head office, a particular hotel, wherever you did the training, you can mention that. Attendance. So let me just explain to you what the attendance means. And if I apply a filter here, you will see that the attendance goes from 0 up till 7. Let me explain to you what this means. If the training program started on the 7th and the training program ended on the 8th, that means it was a 2-day training program, 7th and the 8th. And if I write 2 there, that means the attendance was full, the person attended on both the days. If I write 1 there, that means in either one of the days the person was absent. And if I write 0 there, that means he was invited to the program but he did not attend the program. That means he was absent on both the dates. But the attendance cannot go beyond the number of days of the program. So if the program is 2 days program, you cannot give him 3 days of attendance. That would be wrong calculation and the model will start giving you wrong results. So you just have to make sure that you enter the correct data. Trainer is the name of the program, name of the trainer who did the program. Average overall rating, you can decide that whether you want to have the rating on 5 scale or a 10 scale, and whatever has been the rating captured in the feedback form, you can put that rating right here. Simple, nothing complicated. Just before we move to the cost data, you need to understand that here in this data, one row simply means one employee who sat for one training program. So this employee 653, he sat for 7 habits training program. That's what it means. If he did sit for maybe multiple training programs, let's just take a look. He sat for multiple training programs and his record is going to be duplicated. All right, I hope that's clear. Let's move on to the cost sheet. So in the cost sheet, we nearly have the same columns as before. We have the program name, we have the type, we have the trainer, start date, end date, location, and the training cost. The only new column here is the training cost. And you entered everything like before and you just mentioned what has been the cost of the training. Now, the other thing that you have to understand about the cost sheet is that one row actually means one training program as compared to the training dump. So this is the first training program, the second program, the third program, so on and so forth. All right, the other important thing to understand is that what is the relationship between the training dump and the cost? How does the cost get allocated to the employee? So you can see that in this sheet, the training dump sheet, we have different dimensions of the training program. Program name is one dimension, program type is another dimension. Start date and end date of the program are 2 dimensions. Training location and the trainer are a couple of other dimensions. Now the values of these columns, which I have just said, need to exactly be the same as you have written in the training dump sheet compared to the training cost sheet. They have to be exactly the same. Let's just take a look at the first program here. So on the 7th of January, we did a training program, 7 habits for managers. It was a behavioral program, ended on the 8th, done in the head office, and the trainer was drawn. Now these details under these columns need to be captured exactly the same way in the cost sheet for the model to understand that we are speaking about this program's cost. So the spelling, the case sensitivity, any extra spaces that you do, any of these errors is going to cause troubles in the model. So you can see that I have exactly captured the same details: 7 habits for managers, behavioral program, RON, 7th of Jan start date, end date. Dates have to be really, you'd have to be really careful with the dates because people make a lot of mistakes in dates. So capturing the dates correctly is one of the really important things. So 7 Jan, 8 Jan is when the training program started and ended. Location is head office and the total cost is 154,000. You also have to make sure that the case is correct to head office, H capital, O capital. That's the way that I've written in the training dump sheet and that's the way that I've written it here. So those things you have to keep in mind. These things have to be exactly written the same way in these columns as compared to the training dump sheet and the cost sheet. All right, the other important thing to understand is that in the cost sheet, duplicates are not allowed. What I mean to say is that you're just allowed to enter the cost only once for a particular training program. So this row means one training program and you're just allowed to enter the cost once. If you duplicate the record, that means I write the same details, same program, same type, same trainer, same date, same start date and end date, and the location is also the same. I write the cost one more time. This is going to be a duplicate entry, and that is not allowed. You can summarize the data, combine all the costs together and write it, but the concatenation, that means if you combine program, type, trainer, start date, end date, and the location, if you combine these columns together, do a concatenated column, you should get a unique value. You should not get any duplicates. And obviously here you can have duplicates because in this data, one row means one employee, and you could have 20 people, 30 people, 40 people sitting for a training program. So duplicates are allowed here, but duplicates are not allowed here. Now, the column names also need to remain the same. You can't change the column name, although I have some provision in the model for you to add a couple of columns in case you want to. But you can't change the existing columns, you can't delete the existing columns, they have to remain the same. That's all about this Excel file, which has two sheets, training dump and the cost. All right, let's just discuss the employee masters, which is the second part of the data. And you can see that I have a folder here which is called employee dumps, and that's where I am dumping all the employee masters for the particular month. Well, the name of the Excel file doesn't matter absolutely. You can have whatever name of the Excel file, and all of these files have the same columnar structure. So if I show you one of the files, the other files are going to remain the same. So why don't we take a look at the employee masters. In this part, I'll also explain to you that why do we have the need to have multiple employee masters and why can't we just work with one employee master. So let's just open April 2017 and take a look at what is the data that goes inside the employee master. So in this employee master, the first column is the employee code, pretty self-explanatory, nothing complicated about it. The name of the employee, the designation of the employee, the level band, hierarchy, B1, B2. You can have whatever level band of your own, but here I have B1, B2, B3, B4. The department, the location where the employee is currently working, the date of joining of the company, the gender, the business or the business vertical that he or she comes from, and the reporting month. Now, I'd like to give you specific understanding about these two columns, reporting month and the last day. Rest of the columns are pretty self-explanatory. So reporting month simply means that which month's employee master is this. So since the name of the Excel file doesn't matter, so the way that we tell the Power BI model that this employee master belongs to a particular month is by this column. So let's say, for example, if you're extracting the employee master for April, you will just write the 1st of April 2017 throughout all the rows of this particular column. So right up till the end, I'm going to write 1st April 2017. Nothing complicated. So if you have any other particular month, so you're writing for December 2019, so you'll write 1st December 2019 across this entire column till the last row of the data. And what is the last day column? The last day column is nothing but in case the employee has left the company, all that you will do is write the last day of that employee in this column. In case the employee is currently working, he becomes an active employee, and these are all active employees. So the last day will only come for those people who have left in the current month. So if you're extracting the data for April 2017, all that I will do is I'll find out how many people have left in the current month, and I will just mention their last dates right in this column. That's all about it. Now, a couple of things to understand about this data. This data cannot have duplicates. So that means that in one Excel file, you cannot have two same employee codes. So I can't have duplicates here in this column, employee code column. Also, you have to understand that the employee code written in all the Excel files that I've shown you need to be exactly the same as the training data. So that means if you're writing EMPC1 here, EMPC1 has to be written exactly this way in the training data with no variation. So E capital, M capital, P capital, C capital, and 1. If they are numbers, it's all good, but if they are text, you have to adhere to case sensitivity, any kind of spaces that are trailing or preceding. All of that you have to be extremely careful about when you're entering the data. All right, now let's just come to the most puzzling part, that why do we have so many employee masters? Why can't we just work with one employee master? Let's just talk about this guy, Tim Dean. He was the vice president, and let's say, for example, in the month of April 2017, he undertook a training. And at the time when he took the training, maybe he was working in the outsourcing business vertical. He was the outsourcing vice president. And he took some workshop. That's fine. But later, maybe 3 months down the line, he took another workshop. But by the time he took that workshop, his business changed from outsourcing to B2B markets. Now, if you have just one employee master, that means if you come back to the employee master and make a change to this guy and change his business vertical from outsourcing to B2B markets, what is going to happen is all his prior data is going to get reflected in B2B markets and not outsourcing. The change will happen retrospectively from the data, and all his previous trainings, the cost, all of that will go account into B2B markets as compared to outsourcing. That's going to be a wrong representation of the data just because the employee moved. At the time of the training, he was in outsourcing. That's what I'd like to show you. So this is just to manage any kind of changes that the employees go through in their current organization, whether it's a designation change, a level change, department change, location change, any of these changes happen, you just mention that here in the separate employee master. So when you have a new employee master 2 months, 3 months later, and a new business vertical is going to show up for that particular employee, his new record is going to be shown under B2B markets versus his old record is going to be shown under outsourcing as business vertical. I hope you've got a good understanding of how the employee master is, and all the employee masters will have the same structure. Like I said before, no changing of the column. You can have whatever information underneath the columns as you would please, but no changing of the columns. Although I have provisions in the model to add more columns if you wish to, but those columns need to be added to all the Excel files of the employee masters. I hope you now have a good understanding of the data and the model. Now let's just move on. That how are you going to make a decision? You've taken a look at the model, you've taken a look at the data. How are you going to make a decision that should I go for it, shouldn't I go for it? So let me just help you make an unbiased decision that whether this template is right for you or not. All right, making a decision actually just boils down to 3 very simple questions. The first question that you should ask is, did you like the analysis presented in the dashboard? We've had 4 screens, the overview, the planner, the feedback, and the cost. If this is exactly what you wanted, or if this is close to what you wanted, you should definitely consider the dashboard. The second question, which you should also consider, is that can you collect and maintain the data in exactly the same format as I suggested? If the answer to that is yes, again, you will be able to not only work with the dashboard, but also successfully implement the dashboard. And before I forget, the third thing is that you need to have Power BI for this. This doesn't work in Excel. It has to work in Power BI Desktop. It's free. I'm going to leave a link to that. You can just download Power BI Desktop. All right, now let's just move on to the fourth part. How do you implement this after you make a purchase? After you complete the purchase, you will get a secure login. You will have a user ID and the password, and that is where all the material, all the dashboard, all the videos are going to be stored. What you'll exactly get is a template, the Power BI template, which I just showed you as a Power BI file, which you can open, and you can also get the backup files, which is where you can store the new data, your organization's data, and replace my data. You're also going to get video instructions on how to implement the dashboard step by step right from scratch, and also instructions on how do you make customizations to the dashboard, whether it's adding new columns, customizing different elements of the dashboards, or even choosing new visuals, some visuals that you haven't liked and maybe you would like to replace them with your own visuals. I hope you've liked the entire video of the tour of the dashboard, the data, the decision part, and the implementation part. If you have any questions around anything about the dashboard, please feel free to put them down in the comment section. I'll be more than happy to help you out in any way. In case you would want me to fully customize the dashboard and implement the dashboard for you from the scratch, I can do it on the project basis. Why don't you hit me up? I'll leave my email ID down somewhere in the video or underneath in the comments. Thank you so much for staying with me all through along, and thank you for watching this. You take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.